The headline inflation for June 2025 moderated to 22.22% relative to the May 2025 headline inflation rate of 22.97%. This was disclosed by the National Bureau of Statistics on Wednesday. According to the latest Consumer Price Index report released by the Bureau, the year-on-year figure reflects a 0.75% point decline from the previous month and a significant 11.97 percentage point drop when compared to June 2024, which recorded an inflation rate of 34.19%.
While the NBS statistics show a drop in the inflation rate, a food price survey by Nairametrics shows food prices across major Lagos markets surged in July 2025, with staples such as onions, rice and pepper recording sharp increases, deepening pressure on household budgets.
The survey, which covered the areas like Mushin, Mile 12, Oyingbo and Daleko markets, price increases dominated the period, although a few items recorded moderate decline due to seasonal harvest and improved supply. The July 2025 survey revealed that inflationary trends, transport bottlenecks and volatile supply chains remain key drivers of food market volatility in Nigeria's commercial capital. Join us this morning at Breakfast Central to break down the new inflation figures released by Nigerian Bureau of Statistics and what it means for the Nigerian economy is economist Mr. Gbolahan Olojede. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, Mr. Olojede. Welcome to Breakfast Central.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Now, Mr. Olojede, quite a number of Nigerians are saying, look, MBS has brought out this statistics of 22% drop in inflation, but they really can't feel it or they can't see it. Is this drop in inflation a genuine economic recovery or just statistical smokes and mirrors, as some have termed it, due to the rebased index? Could you make sense of this for us, please?
Okay. Incidentally, it's a bit complex than it appears. In the first instance, the general interpretation on the street, when people see, oh, it is now 22.22%, whereas it was 30-something percent at the same time in the previous year, is that, oh, it means that if it has gone from 30-something to 20-something, then prices have dropped commensurably, but that is not the interpretation of those numbers. The interpretation of those numbers is that although prices are increasing, they are increasing at a decreasing rate. So prices were increasing much faster at this same period last year than they are in the current year. That is the interpretation of those numbers that we're looking at. So it's not saying that prices have now started to decrease, but rather they are increasing at a decreasing rate. And that is also understandable in the context of certain things in the environment. One of the key drivers of the inflation pressure that we saw had been very volatile exchange rate and the fuel price matter. But if you take middle of last year and you come to the middle of this year, you're going to find out that there have been certain improvement in those two major things. So the fuel that went all the way in Lagos to 1,000 plus has been dancing around 800 plus 900 for a while in the current year. The exchange rate that opened 2024 at about 900 naira or 800 and something naira, but went all the way to 1,900. And all the uncertainty that are associated with that level of volatility is gradually moderating because exchange rate has remained reasonably stable at around that 1,500, 1,600 window for close to a year. Since the second half of last year, we've had those numbers being relatively stable around that window. What the implication of that is that importers or manufacturers, everybody is able to plan better, and the scare about volatility of the exchange rate is gradually disappearing. So we expect that there will be, a better, economic environment by virtue of stability of exchange rate. But that is not to say that prices have come down the way we would like to see them. Of course, I like the fact that you mentioned about food. Because Nigeria's agriculture is still built around a lot of seasonality, we will continue to have high prices during planting or rainy season, and when harvest comes, prices will drop. That is going to continue until we are able to translate our economy, agricultural space into more of being able to plant 12 months during the year, and we can. More irrigated farming, more commercial farming, more conditioned, farming, and we'll be able to moderate all these seasonal fluctuations. Otherwise, for example, by next month, which is August, the new yam will be out. When new yam comes out, it brings down the price of yam, in the market. Right now, a lot of yam that is still in the market is still the old yam, the dry yam, and it is still fairly expensive. So the inflation space right there is still fairly complex. The interpretation of this 22.2% relative to last year is not that has dropped commensurably, but that the rate of increase has decreased significantly.
So basically, the bleeding we're not bleeding as much as we were last year, if I get that correctly. Okay,
correct.
So that's a first step. At least you stop the bleeding, then you start to treat the wound. But are there concerns about the impact of rainfall this year? NEMA has made projections about floods, and from time to time they put up announcements about certain areas that will most likely be flooded. Nimet, thank you very much. That will most likely be flooded. Do you think that this might also impact what the numbers will say in the coming months?
It could significantly impact it. That is the reality. How prepared are we to deal with those matters? It's a different kettle of fish entirely. Because the way flooding has been this year, even in more sophisticated environment, sometimes when you have this flash flood situation, they could be really devastating. They could wipe out an entire state's agriculture base in just a few hours of rainfall. These are the times when we have no option than to lean on prayers. And secondly, to move away from waiting for these predictions annually to begin to do something concrete.
When you say something concrete, what can
we deal with these matters when they come? Otherwise, they will come and they might make us, in fact, they might make us poorer. As simple as that. They wipe out our agricultural base.
Mr. Olojede, are there things we can do? Can we apply technology to the agricultural value chain? For example, storage and post-harvest waste to prevent this inflation from happening and these seasonal issues that we have to mitigate the effect of flooding, for example, so we can plan.
I'm glad you brought this up, and that is because as far back as July 2023, in the president's speech, he gave his speech in July 2023, and in that speech, all these matters were clearly outlined. The problem of Nigerian agricultural space is not something that is fresh in analysis. We know where all the problems are. We know what the solutions could be, but I don't think we have had the political will to confront the matters. We have not prioritized these matters. In that particular speech, the president spoke about putting more hectareage of land under cultivation. I don't know how far we are with that. It is possible we have done something. He spoke about storage. Because a lot of what we produce gets wasted in this country. In some product categories, it is as high as 40% of what the farmer has produced in a year will go to waste. He spoke about connectivity, connecting the centers of production, the rural areas, to the centers of consumption. If you don't move tomatoes in good time from Kebbi to Lagos, which is a 25 million people market, in good time. A huge percentage of that are going to get rotten. So there has to be the proper connectivity. So he spoke about infrastructure to connect rural areas to the urban. How much of this have we been able to do? So for me, it's a matter of prioritizing. Those analyses have been done. We know what the problems are. It is for the government to prioritize the solutions to this problem and make it happen for us.
All right. I'd like us to look at the minimum wage in line with what we're just discussing. Is it going to be all uhuru for those who are earning the 70,000 naira minimum wage, seeing the fact that they say inflation has dropped? Even though I like the fact that you've analyzed it critically, helping us to see that it's not really what we think, but in terms of likening it to the minimum wage and not forgetting to looking at where we are going. The average man who's watching this program now would like to know what this drop will do for his 70,000 naira.
Not significant. There won't be, it can't start feeling much or anything for that matter, because a lot of the things that he spends his money on have still not improved in pricing significantly. And number one is food. So when you are down that, ladder, when you are the lowest rung of the ladder, the 70,000 folks, a chunk of their earnings go into food. And we are in a season where a lot of food items have not come into harvest. So it's probably even spending more in this season on food items than he spent in some months past, when some of the food was still in full season. So, and because a chunk of that is where you spend a chunk of his money, so it's not likely to begin to feel the impact of this drop in inflation rate. However, when it is sustained over time, it will definitely feel it. And then the environment itself will change. For example, products that were not in season will come into season, and maybe some other things in the environment might change positively to make him feel it. But right now, he cannot have any major feeling about that. And I've said this time and again, that look, one of the ways that government can make the largest impact, what you call can drive inclusive growth, something that is being done up there but that will reach everybody, is to solve the food problem.
Now,
even if it is political capital you are looking for, once you are able to take hunger out of poverty, that poverty is badly dented. And those people at the lowest rung of the ladder will give you that political capital, if that is what you're looking for. So it is the best and the biggest way to make an impact on the economy of Nigeria, solve the food problem.
Right. Gbolahan Olojede, thank you very much for joining us this morning and breaking down what these numbers mean and where the next steps are if we're going to see development in terms of conversations about inflation as well as the practicality of it to the everyday Nigerian man. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you.